Well, one thing, 60s were just an experimental phase. We were just wetting our hands. You won't believe me, the rockets that we made those days, it is as big as a Diwali rockets today. Hardly 1 meter tall. Yeah. And it can go to an altitude of about 10 kilometers. Yes. In fact, yesterday, the RH was the launch of RH200, where Ramnath past president has witnessed that one. Yes. So that rocket has flown more than 2,000 times. Yeah. Out of that, this is a 200 consecutive successful flights. Okay. So that is a rocket which is developed in the 60s. Okay. Compared to that, today we have got gigantic rockets. Yeah. The PSLV, which can take about 1.5 tons into Earth's orbit. Then the GSLV Mark III, which can take about 10 tons into orbit, and so on. So the rocket technology has grown to this extent over these few decades. 5 decades. So in the 60s, it was a beginning. So we learned how to make propellant, how to shape it to the rocket, and then make a flight dynamics and so on. And it's elementary lessons. But the real learning started when we designed the SLV-3. Okay. I mentioned about it. It was a competitive type of thing. Right. But then finally, Dr. Sarabhai wanted to identify a leader for that program. He was watching everybody very carefully. He picked Dr. Kalam as a leader for this. And comparison is unfair to compare that. All the other senior scientists were brought from USA and Europe and everything, and they were in high positions there. Yeah. Compared to that, Dr. Kalam was a homegrown product from MIT Chennai, and he has wetted his hands in ADA, and making a hovercraft and all those things. Oh. But here he has shown his mettle how to synthesize the effort of people, how to coordinate the technologies, how to really integrate, not only the people technology and bring out. So that is a characteristic what Sarabhai has spotted and given him this responsibility. But of course, he didn't live to see that fluctuation of the Sarabhai's demise in 71, a very sad affair. And it was really a shock for all of us. We were having a 2-day review here at Tumba. He came down from Bark, I think, at the time. Yeah. Later, we came to know that he had a hectic schedule for the past whole week. He was working about 18 hours a day. Oh. That's what his PS used to tell later. And here also, he was having the same schedule. Right up to midnight, it used to go. The previous night, after finishing everything, he went to Kolam, hills chose, around midnight. And then he went to sleep. And next morning, he went to wake. That's it. And it was really a shocking moment. And later, I think people were convinced it's overwork, which has really cost his life. And it's a very, very great loss for the nation, I would say, because, that kind of visionary leaders, very rarely you come across. See, they have a long-term goal and they know how to achieve the short-term goals as part of that and how to link all these things together to achieve that thing. So that was the time in which the transition took place. Yes. Then, the Charles was a different entity. It was handling only the rocket launches. So A.G.S. Murthy was a founding director, and he continued to be like that. And whereas this technology groups, which is formed under the Dr. Gupta, Dr. Gavarikar, and Muthanagam and all those things, they were all almost like individual entities. Clusters. And they were trying to, they were doing good work. But at the same time, to again lead all them together, there was a gap. Sarabhai himself took that leadership role, and he was heading what is called the Space Science and Technology Center at the time. He was a director. He used to come here every month almost, take review and all those things. Also, this gap was very much there. Then I think finally they converged that Professor Brahm Prakash from Bark. He was a very leading metallurgist, and he was a director of the Bark at the time. And then he was brought here. So he took over as a director here. And after Sarabhai's demise, the center was named as Vikram Sarabhai Space Center.
Space Center.
And that became the mother center for all the ISRO centers today. Whether it is the satellite center, the launch complex, or the application center, everything nucleated here.
Yes.
But later, it spun off to various places and it has taken shape. So there is a really unique transition which was taking place. But then again, to replace Sarabhai was not a simple job. What I understand is then Madam Gandhi, she has spotted Professor Satish Dhawan, who was on a sabbatical at
California.
So he sent word to him. But at the same time, of course, he was hesitant because he was more of an academic-oriented person. He didn't want to get into real wetting the hands and technology and all those things. So finally, they convinced him. But he put only one condition. Yes, I will come. I will have my headquarters at Bangalore, first thing. Second thing is I will continue to be the director of IAC. So if you agree on these two things, do that. Finally, government has to agree. Of course, interim Professor Menon, M.G.K. Menon was holding charge of this about 6 months or so.
Yes.
Then Professor Satish Dhawan came and he took over. But I will give credit to Satish Dhawan for one thing. He was a very systematic, analytical, and research-oriented person. At the same time, he knew where to focus attention. In fact, all the infrastructure which is required for the rockets, satellites, etc., that infrastructure got developed during his time.
Okay.
And then this team, Dr. Kalam, Dr. Brahma Prakash, and Professor Dhawan. This was fantastic. They had a very unique resonance. And that has brought the synergy, and finally the SLV-3 was made. And we have the SLV-3 rocket launched in first, of course, 69 we attempted, but it has failed. But within a year, we came back on the rails, and it was made a success. Now, PRL was a nucleus for the interspace activity, and it was a society being funded by Atomic Energy Department.
Okay.
So it's virtually under Atomic Energy Department, but they don't have to follow any rules of government.
Autonomous kind.
It was an autonomous society. And so when Mr. Thakur used to be the chief administration accounts officer, Dr. Sarabhai used to turn to him for any decision. If you go with a paper for even 100 rupee approval, he will say, why they go? Like that, he will hand over to Thakur. So it was like that. But then, a huge setup cannot run like that.
Yes.
So that is where I think Professor Dhawan played a very key role. Of course, he has virtually copied the setup what Homi Bhabha has marketed.
Yeah.
It is a commission mode of working.
Okay.
That's again unique in the country.
That time.
Only Space Department and Atomic has got this thing. So here, the government gives overall what they call policy and things like that. But conceiving the programs, implementing it, and then everything, right from procurement to civil works or whatever it is all delegated to the commission.
Yeah.
The highest body for decision making is a commission. We don't have to go to any minister and stand in queue for getting a signature. So in fact, that is, I used to say that that's the only reason these two programs have succeeded compared to many others. So this came, and then the constitution is the secretary himself becomes the chairman of ISRO as well as the chairman of the Space Commission. So it is many roles.
Secretary of those
Department of Space Office. So, and he reports to PM only. So there is no intermediary in between.
Yeah.
This actually, Baba also insisted on that. We got it, and we have been enjoying that benefit all these years.
Yeah.
And that's the simple reason that space program has achieved the present goals.
Cool.
Now, this period when we wanted to do something new, it was very, very difficult. We didn't have even a blueprint of a rocket or a satellite. And leave alone that, what materials to use, what fabrication technology we use, where to assemble, how to test. Nothing was known. So, here, of course, in Tumba, main concentration was on the rocket technology. In fact, Professor U.R. Rao, he was also one of the divisional heads under SSTC when Dr. Sarabhai was here. Then afterwards, he thought that Bangalore would be a better place because the electronics industries are there, aerospace industries are there. So that way you will have a more advantage
kind of
for the satellite technology.
Yes.
So he moved the satellite division
To Bangalore.
and he also, when he did not have any infrastructure, he took a shed in Pinia Industrial Estate.
Okay.
So that is where the clean rooms and everything was set up, and the first Aryabhatta was built there. So that grew into what is called the ISAC, Indian Satellite Center,
Applications.
and then now it is named after Professor Rao, URC has come in.
Okay.
Similarly, Professor A.P.J Rao, of course, Tumba, there's only limited space.
There.
We cannot handle big rockets.
Yes.
So, and also for the geostationary orbit, etc., we had to have a easterly launch. So we had to go to the other coast. Then there was a hunting around for the place, etc. And finally, Andhra Pradesh government came forward. Sriharikota, it is virtually an island, which is about 36,000 hectares or so, a huge area. And that was selected as a. And again, there's only some Adivasis were there and forest area, and not even a proper connectivity. From the mainland, about 10 kilometers, you travel by boat. That's how Sarabhai went there, and he walked around and identified the place, etc. And he said, and he entrusted the responsibility of developing the place to Dr. A.P.J Rao.
Okay.
He is a person, pioneer who started the program. And not only that, see, at the time we saw that there is a need for huge rockets. When it comes to it, the propellant becomes important. Tumba, again, there is a limitation and tonnage wise. About 3 tons is the maximum propellant you can have. So, Dr. Gavarikar came up with the idea that we will go for a 500-ton propellant plant.
Yeah.
That was a chapter to Sriharikota.
Okay.
Then the static test has to be organized. So there, Dr. Muthanayagam took the lead, and he set up this static test facility.
Okay.
So the launch complex, the static test facility, and the solid propellant plant all came up there together. The satellite center I mentioned about it. The satellite application was nucleated around PRM. At the time, there was a space application center, a small way it started. There, actually, they are talking about sensors, then also looking at remote sensing. I don't know whether you know the origin of the remote sensing was by Dr. Pishardi.
Oh, I see. Okay.
The famous meteorologist. After retirement from the meteorologist, he joined Sarabhai's team.
Okay.
And he has first brought a conventional camera,
Okay.
Hasselblad, that's the trade name of the camera. With that, he flew in an aircraft in Kerala coast.
Okay.
And took the pictures and identified the coconut trees and all those things, which has got disease, which is healthy, etc. And that was done way back in towards the end of 60s.
Which altitude, sir, this was captured?
That was around 2 kilometers above.
That's all.
Aircraft. So that is how we started. So when the second satellite has to be built, the cameras were put in the satellite itself, Bhaskara. It had a television camera on board.
Okay.
So that was taking the global picture,
Okay.
So it could, of course, the resolution was not so great. It was about 1 kilometer you can identify. So all the glaciers, the water bodies, the forest area, all those things were identified. So that is the beginning of the Earth observation system.
Yeah.
Concept. So it all starts from scratch, and some key people, they play the role. This Space Application Center came up for building all this. The ordinary camera, there's a limitation. So we had to go for a higher resolution cameras. So the sensors become important. Of course, we have to depend on foreign sources for sensors. But then the optics, it's a telescope. Actually, what is flying in the IRS mission, etc., is a 1 meter diameter telescope attached to at the end of that, the sensors are attached. So that is the one, today it gives you sub-meter class resolution. From 600 kilometers above, we are able to see objects as small as a car. So to that extent, we have
developed remote sensing.
So space applications are all. Again, the usage of this is by many departments.
Military also.
So there, at Hyderabad, National Remote Sensing Agency, That's again, it was a society mode was operated.
Yeah.
And there the DST, Forest Department, Fisheries, all those people were partners in that and started like that. But later, in my time, it was converted to a center. Okay, it's called a National Space Application Center. That is there in Hyderabad. So then that's on one side, the technology development. So this facility is conceiving that, building of those things, getting the equipments, operationalizing it, making the prototype, testing, all these things happen in Professor Dhawan's time. So he has given us the infrastructure which is required for development of space technology in the country. At the same time, he has brought in a very systematic culture of documentation.
Yeah.
He was a professor.
Yeah.
He was never satisfied with if I go and still something. He wants a document.
On paper.
So, and everything has to be put in a scientific manner. In fact, at one time he shouted at me. I went with the engineering type of sketch. He said, no, this is not the thing. What is how can you correlate this parameter with that parameter? They are not equal. And you are making stupid things like that, he told me. Of course, it made me think, maybe corrections later and so on. But such comments help us.
Yes, learning experience.
Refine these. And then under him, as I told you, Professor Brahm Prakash and Kalam. Kalam was, we are again developing rockets and other things. And there's new technologies. So he introduced a review system in which, with Professor Dhawan's help, we got that technologies, the education institutions will be part of it.
Oh.
See, the senior professors from IITs, IISc, they used to come and sit with us in reviewing the technical details.
A peer review process.
SLV3 onwards.
Okay.
So that review process, what we have generated, that is the strength of the organization. It is not one individual, he says, I want to do like this. And if he has an idea, he has to present his review forum, justify himself.
Yes.
And if there are any correction required, the review forum will suggest. And they have to do it. And that review culture is something which is very unique.
Important. Yeah.
It is not, it's not that you don't believe a person, but we may miss something in our enthusiasm.
Yes.